Good day and welcome to a quick start into Cycles node editor, and obviously Blender being the name of the program which we're using, which is freeware and open source and all that. Okay, first things first, select Cycles renderer right up here, because some of you might not know we're working with Cycles. And then go into user preferences, Control Alt U, or I think Command Alt U for Mac, or simply go into File and User Preferences, obviously. And please enable from the add-on tabs Node, use Node Wrangler. Enable it and maybe save user settings so it starts at every startup, so you don't have to enable it again and again. This is a very helpful tool. It creates lots of macros for the node editor, such as shortcuts and a lot of stuff. I mean, seriously, it improves functionality a lot. I don't know why they didn't enable it by default. And for those of you wanting to render with the GPU, go to the System tab, Compute Device, select from None, which is by default I think enabled. Select CUDA or OpenCL or whatever you have, and select your GPU of choice. For those of you having multiple GPUs, good for you. And obviously save user settings so that you will never have to do this again. Okay, that being said, let's jump right in, huh? Get it? Because this is infinite space and we can jump in and we can fall forever. This is done by Shift F, by the way, and Tab to enable gravity. Yeah, let's go into render mode, and you can do this by going between object mode and pivot, right over here, clicking rendered, or simply pressing Shift Z by default, unless you tinkered with the hotkeys, in which case I don't think you will have changed the rendered modes into anything else. Right, so let's mess around, and oh my god, we can see the lighting. We can add plane, and we can move it around, and let's increase, actually maybe zoom the panel in, because I'm recording in 720p. Let's increase the start resolution for the viewport, because you pan around and you move and you kind of see it pixelated, and it's bad. Let me reduce it a lot. This is not a good situation right here, right? You do not want this. So since I'm not doing major stuff right here, I can actually increase it to like 480, I guess. I don't know what the viewport width is. It's already much better. Let's mess around with the lamp. You can move, and the shadow is interactive. It moves with you. It's very, very cool stuff. It separates the men from boys. And if we add like a wall, you can project it on a wall, and you can see the wall is not entirely black. Also, because we have over here, we have some material for the background, which is this thing, this whole nothingness. It's actually a solid color. And if you're like hyperactive or something, you can go right ahead and make it red, and you're gonna bleed out your eyes. But never mind. Now you've got like ambient occlusion by default, and global illumination, which basically means this. And correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think I am. Oh, and you also have alpha for this channel. I never knew that. What good does that do you? None. But there's alpha in this, so there's like 32-bit float color and alpha, I guess. But anyway, let's select the cube. Or you can select it from the, what's this? The outline, I think it's called, yeah, the outliner. Which is, it used to be a pain in the ass for me, because, it occupies space, but if you organize it nicely, you can use it, and it's helpful. Anyway, go to the material, or, yeah, over here, the material for the object, or over here, select the cube, right here. And either click on Use Nodes over here and Use Nodes over here. It's your choice. And now you have nodes for this object. Actually, no, for this material alone, I guess. Right, and we can modify the color of this cube. Let's say we want it to be, well, for no reason we want it cyan. If this is cyan, I don't know. And look at that, it's nice. It's nice. It kind of gets red because of the background. So let's disable the background. First of all, let's make it more enjoyable, like this, and then deactivate it completely by disconnecting the sockets. Even lamps have nodes, you know. I mean, you can select them over here, use nodes, or use nodes from here. You can increase the strength, or better yet, let's just change it into a sunlight and get eye cancer. Now we're gonna go with strength back to 1, I think, or 2, or 3, or 4, or something. Let me drag this corner with the slanted lines, which means splitting the viewport, and let's see what exactly it is we are doing. Yeah, I kind of want this to happen like this. Yeah, I want the shadow to hit a bit of this wall. And this is a good thing, right? This is a very good thing. Mainly because it's finally happening to me. I mean, I haven't had a GPU in 6 years, I think. Just as CUDA was becoming a thing, my GPU got fried. Thanks to some stupid decisions, but anyway. So I didn't have cycles for a lot of time. Except on, you know, CPU, but it's not exactly a fair comparison. Since on GPU, with any GPU, it kind of, you know, gets smooth quicker. So anyway, we have a color for the cube. The diffuse, as you can see, it's pretty much, you know, like an opaque thing. Opaque if you're French, I guess. Let's add a sphere because I want to prove something like roughness. And I'm not gonna be rough. And you know, like say, you should have read the manual, you know, instead of having me explain stuff to all of you. So let's give this sphere material, and we're gonna give it the same as the cubes because, you know, why not? I have like 6 gigs of RAM, and I can't afford 2 materials, obviously. So let's select this one, and now we can focus on the sphere. And as you can see, it's a very nice sphere. But what happens if we increase the roughness? Because we have to prove what roughness is. It pretty much becomes a mouse ball, you know, like those old mice from the Atari 2700, you know. Yeah, ask your grandparents about how mouse used to look. Anyway, it had like this rubber ball inside. This is pretty much what roughness does. It kind of destroys every bit of personality from the face. And it creates like this part is lit, this is not. There's like nothing in between anymore. Not to be confused with a subscattering shader, because that's a thing also which imitates skin. And you need, this is why I have experimental enabled, you need to have experimental enabled in order to have subsurface scattering on the GPU. For the CPU, there's no such thing, I think. Anyway, let's delete the sphere and let's add a texture to this cube. Now, what's a texture? It's a variation in color usually, but not necessarily only color. It can be in you know, like detail and all that. So let's add a texture. Let's say noise texture will do great. Let's hide this plane, right? Let's bring sexy back. Surface. We've reconnected the background, and now we have like even TV lighting. It's very nice. It's bland. Let's get rid of this cursor. Let's go to shading. No, it's display, and only render. By the way, these panels are activated. This one is by N. This one is by T. This one is called Properties panel, which has no N into it, but this one is the Tool shelf, which has a T in it. So yeah, you know, you can also get them from here. Tool shelf and Properties. So let's connect this yellow socket into this yellow socket, and let's see what happens. And you get a texture. Oh my god, it's a very nice texture. Let's make it less gay. So connect the factor into the color, and now you have only values from 0 to 1, I think. it's either 0 to 1 or 0 to 1 and above. I don't know what 32-bit float is. I think it's 0 to 1 and everything in between. So this noise texture has like a scale, detail, and distortion sockets, which, you know, if you don't connect anything to them, you can actually modify them manually and globally for this node itself. So the scale basically says, look how zoomed in the noise is. Let's leave it at this for the moment. Detail is how much detail obviously the noise has, like compare this to 0 compared to this, you know, it's like a fractal, it gets more definition. And distortion pretty much makes an Ibanez guitar happen. I think I'm getting sued for mentioning them, but they do make very nice guitars. Cha-ching! They're paying me to say that. No, they're not. I just like them a lot. Okay, so we've got this handled, and remember, what you're seeing, this black is not black, it's 0. And this white is not white, it's 1. We are all the same race, as some weirdos will say. So we can connect this. Let's say we want not black and white, we want like green and yellow, because I don't know, blue and red. Yeah, let's go with blue and green, because I'm using 420 encoding and it doesn't handle very well the green channel. So let's go and where is it? Ah yeah, input RGB. This is pretty much, look, this node gives out the color information. You select a color and it just passes it later on, you know? So let's go to blue-ish, light blue, one of these, and duplicate it. Let's say Shift-D. I like to keep them a bit organized like this. You have snapping, by the way, somewhere. Yeah, snapping, if you're too lazy to do control, and also snapping to relative of themselves, you know, like make a line, put them all in line, like in the army or something, you know. Very cool set of things. 3 minutes left until the RAM disk gets filled, because I'm recording this on the RAM disk, because I can. Okay, so anyway, this one is gonna be the second color. We're gonna go with red. No, red. Wait, which one is... No, red is being encoded horribly. Let's go with green. Okay, so we've got this one and this one. We need to mix them up. How do we do that? Well, on the Node Wrangler add-on, we have like control and numpad 0. It automatically mixes them. It creates a mix RGB node, which does the same thing, by the way. It just, you know, it connects those that you have selected already. It's very, very cool. So if we connect this mix node into the color socket of the diffuse material, we'll get basically nothing. It's actually true. It's a mix between blue and green, and it's set at 50%, like this factor says. Look, if it's at 0, it's this socket. If it's at 1, it's this socket. You know, very, very easy. And if it's halfway through, it's, I don't know what. I think this is like, is this cyan? I'm pretty colorblind, or, you know, color ignorant, or whatever. But we don't want this. I said we want to replace this thing, you know. We want black to be one color and white to be another color. We want this to happen. So how can we do this? Well, if you're gonna toy around with the factor a lot, you might get ideas like, hey, maybe if these things have like geometry, coordinates and all this thing, maybe if I connect the factor value into this factor value, maybe something happens. And oh my god, it did. Okay, remember, white, which stands for 1, is now the green color, which incidentally is the second color. Let's think in terms of IT. This is color 0 and this is color 1. 0 and 1, right? So what used to be black, this thing, you know, it's as black as it can get, even though it's white gray. This thing is 0 or near 0, and obviously you can see it as being used as color 0, right? I mean, it drives color 0. If you want to make like contrast adjustments and all that, I welcome you to, you know, go to color, gamma, brightness, contrast, and all of this shit. Just, you know, go like this. Go mad. like this, alright? But I personally like to use, 15 minutes, we have 5 minutes left. 5 minutes and I'm gonna waste your time doing it. Have you seen my my album? No, you haven't, because I don't have any. Go to converter and add a color ramp. Color ramp and place it so that, you know, this line becomes orange, or whatever your UI theme is set to for active. And it's pretty much, have you ever worked with image editing software, either GIMP or another one which starts with P and ends in Photoshop? Actually, it ends in Photoshop. Anyway, it's exactly that. It's the levels tool. Sliding this 0 value means, look, all these values and, you know, ahead of them, they are 0 now, they're black. All these ones are white, right? And then over here with this field, you can decide, like, you know, at this position, what is the actual value of it? You know, because by default, they're like 0 and 1 are at positions 0 and at 1, right? This is 0, so it has a value of 0, right? And this is 1. Let's take exactly where it used to be white, you know, where it's 1, like now, right now, where it's white. We're gonna make it a bit gray, so you can see everything tends to go towards, well, the blue color, which is the color 0, you know. So as more you approach to 0, you get 0, obviously. If we want to make it more contrasty and more posterized, we can bring these values up here. Now, they're like intervals. Like everything from here to here is color 0, and we define color 0 as whatever we want it, right? We can increase it past anything we want. By the way, this is being done by the mouse wheel. It increases in 0.05 increments, right? And this is the one color, right? So I think this is about it. We have like 3 minutes left. Let's see what I can say. Oh yeah, very, very important, and thank you very much for the Node Wrangler. Any socket let's say you hold Control Shift or Command Shift and click a node, it automatically makes a preview node setup. A preview node setup is basically an emission shader. You know, you can get it from shaders, emission, and it's the same thing, but it's being fed the information which you clicked. Like, say, if you want to see what this color ramp has so far, it's this, you know, it automatically sends whatever you have after a node. It sends it to the viewer node, which is, you know, emission. It's basically emission called, sorry, no, it's called a viewer. You know, the label is modified, but it's still an emission node, right? Hope that doesn't confuse you too much. Basically, just try it out with anything. I mean, you can include coordinates, mixes. Like, you see, this one is shadeless. It's pretty much shadeless. That's what it is, you know. Because if you connect the diffuse shader to the material output, you get shaded. You know, like this part is you know, it's lit up by the sunlight or whatever it is, and this part isn't. It's in the shade, right? By the way, if you try the Control Shift click thingy on a shader, that is to say something that has this BSDF output socket, it automatically connects it over here, right? So let's see, we want to see the mix that this diffuse shader gets, this node. We want to see it how it is, you know, it's a shadeless thing. We want to see the diffuse shader itself with everything it has so far. We either connect this as previously shown, or we Control Shift click it, and it's a shader. It's a working shader. It's no longer shadeless, you know. Same with this. I mean, you can see the noise texture itself. The color socket gives you color noise. The factor gives you 0 and 1, obviously, and you can see it. It's shadeless. It's good for data visualization when texturing and doing all sorts of stuff, you know? So I think this is it for now. 29 seconds left. I'm using Shadowplay to record this, Audacity to record the audio, because the microphone is mono, so obviously the right channel gets interference from the GPU and CPU and all that, because, you know, integrated sound card. So I'm using Audacity, which is open source and freeware. to do noise reduction and channel equalization, and we're done. Thank you very much. See you later. God, I hate open source.